What's up? David is here, and today I want to address the question, the age-old question that many of us have from the dawn of time, and that question is, should we cuss? Should we swear? And why is cussing so bad? Why is it so looked down upon? Alright, so let's dissect this, okay? And let's operate from first order principles, okay? Let's really critically think about this. So, to understand cussing, let's start with language, especially verbal language. So, what is language? What is verbal language? Well, verbal language, what we do with our mouth is we're just producing sound, right? Sound that is organized in a certain way. So all language is, it's pretty much sound that is organized into a certain, pattern, okay? That's pretty much all that verbal language is. It's a sound that we make. And then, with the certain sound that we make, we agree upon what that sound actually means. So for example, if I say the word tree, I'm referring to that brown and green long thing outside, right? And so we as a society have agreed upon that the word tree equals that green and brown thing that's outside, okay? So if I come up with the word but then we all don't agree upon the meaning, then that word really essentially has no meaning, has no value. So language, verbal language, is pretty much a sound that we make, an organized sound, and that we as a society have agreed upon that definition. Okay, so that is language. And so that language, that word tree, it could have been arbitrary. It's very, very arbitrary, okay? Because in other cultures, the word tree does not equal that brown, green thing outside, Like, for example, in the Korean language, the word tree is namu. Namu, the words, the way that the words are organized in that way refers to that green, brown thing outside, right? So this is very arbitrary. The word that represents that brown and green thing outside, it could have been tree, it could have been muffin, it could have been cookie. So these are just labels that are just signposts pointing to like the actual thing. They're not the actual thing itself. And Shakespeare said like, a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet, right? So the rose is just a label. It's just a terminology that we place. It could have been peanut butter, and it would still be the rose. It would still be that flower, right? It's just with a different name. So let's take that back into cuss words. So why do we human beings, why do we create language? And then later on, we tell ourselves, okay, you know what? Some words, some sounds, we're not supposed to use, okay? We're gonna omit them from the vocabulary. And they're supposed to be bad words. Why do we do this, right? Why do we even invent that word in the first place if we're just gonna omit it? That it's stupid how, how we operate sometimes, okay? But okay, so let's talk about that. So let's take the cuss word of the F word, okay? The F word is only bad because we as a society have agreed that this is a bad word, that we're not supposed to say it. But this is kind of ridiculous if you really think about it. It's like you telling your dog, like, hey, that woof sound that you just made, that one is a bad one. Okay, you're not supposed to do that woof. Okay, you can do the other woof. The other woof is good, but just that one woof, that one's bad. You can't use that one, okay? That's a bad word. Or a bad sound. So like what we're doing is we're pretty much placing a taboo on a certain sound that we're not supposed to make. And this kind of seems ridiculous, but the thing is, this is how the human psyche kind of works. Because it's noted that in all cultures, not just our culture, but in all cultures, they have some kind of a taboo that they place on words, like phrases, and even subjects that they're not supposed to talk about. Same thing goes for us, our culture. Like we place a taboo on certain words or like certain subjects that we're not supposed to talk about in public, right? And so there's a tendency for the human psychology to actually kind of place taboos on certain things. So that is why we have some words that we're not supposed to say. But honestly, to get down to it, is it all that bad? Like, it's just a sound. Seriously, it's just a certain sound that we place, and we place a negative connotation on it. And so let's take that word and then let's use this. And also, it depends on the context on how we use the word, doesn't it? Because we could use the F word and we can use it in a very positive context, or we could use it in a very negative context. So, for example, if I say, I effing hate you, that is a bad, negative connotation, right? But if I use the same phrase, or not the same phrase, but same word, and if I say like, I effing love you, I think you are effing beautiful, I think this is, the food I'm eating is effing delicious, this is amazing. In that context, that's really a positive thing. But then we as a society, we're like, looking down upon that word just because it has that sound in it. It's kind of ridiculous. But anyways, like the context kind of, it gives the negative connotation or a positive connotation to the word. And in both of those cases, I use the F word as an emphasizer, right? And there are other words that we can use as an emphasizer. So cuss words, like the example I'm giving, the F word, it's just a certain sound that we have agreed upon that is supposedly a bad word. And it's very arbitrary, like I said. The cuss word, it could have been the F word, or it could have been chocolate. And then we could have all agreed that chocolate is a bad word and create censorship out of this bad word called chocolate, and create this taboo-ness around it, and then not even let us speak the word chocolate. But again, it's very arbitrary how a bad word comes to be in a certain language. But okay, so let's go back to the question: should we cuss then? Because it's just a sound that we make with the mouth. Then it's not so bad. So shouldn't we cuss all the time then? Or why don't we cuss all the time? It's just a freaking sound. Here's the thing. Okay, so like most of society, they don't know this. Like you might know it now, but then most of society, they don't know this, and then it's going to be really hard to explain this to somebody. So like I talked about this before, but you want to meet society halfway. Okay, you want to keep your authenticity, but you also want to be relatable. So it's not like you can go inside of like a church or like a formal event and then start cussing everybody out, okay? You don't want to really do that because you're really gonna, get looked down on. So you kind of want to meet society halfway. So you want to stay in the intersection of authenticity, being really authentic with yourself, and also in the intersection of relatability, being relatable with society. So in certain circumstances, maybe it's not the best idea to cuss, But then, when like you're in a different circumstance, when you're like with your buddies or whatever, why not? It's like, it's just a sound, right, that we're making, right? So again, it differs by situation and situation, okay? Like the question, should we cuss? Well, I know you're gonna hate this answer, but it depends, right? It depends on the situation and the circumstance. So I don't think I would recommend people cussing at a church or cussing at the library or something, right? So yeah, that's those are just some insights that I've had on cussing. And again, we're operating from first order principles, right? We're really dissecting what cussing actually is and what taboo language actually is. All right, so I hope you found some value out of this one, and that's it for this video, and I will see you in the next one.